Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about the motivation of every single person at your table, and how we now know the four primary motivations for Dungeons and Dragons, and we know it through Apple's television show, Ben Stiller's television show, Severance, and Severance has turned out to be this key that unlocked the mystery of Dungeons and Dragons player motivation. So I really feel like we need to be hyper focused on why are people at our table, at our Dungeons and Dragons table. And we've done, and thank you for being here with me. We've done a full examination of all four of the severed employees on the severed floor at Lumen. And this allows us to understand what the motivations of Dungeons and Dragons players are, the primary motivations, and there's four. Okay, so first of all, these are coming from the severed employees. So this is Dylan G, Irving B, Mark S, and Helly R. Right, and so let's tick them off. What are the motivations? Helly R, break Dungeons and Dragons. Right. Irving B, honor Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. Mark S, escape reality. Okay. Dylan G, earn perks. Okay. So these are the four reasons that people are at our table. Many of them are there because they know exactly what Dungeons and Dragons is, and they want to honor 5 decades of the most powerful narrative force that had. They want to honor 5 decades of boosting human narrative, right? Of the most important stories told on the planet outside of sacred texts, right? These new types of incredibly important stories, not written by a single author and then just served up like pablum to the masses, but a story of a dungeon master coming in and saying, I've made an infrastructure for a tale. I'm gonna present the setting to you, and you and I are gonna tell a story together. And if you raise your eyebrow, I will shift the story. I will shift the story based on your heart. I will shift the story based on your mind. I will shift the story based on your spirit. I will shift the story if you frown. I will shift the story if you smile. I will shift the story if you weep. And I will shift the story if you cry from exaltation, right? I will master your emotions, and you will give your emotions to me, and we will power the most powerful, most important narratives of humanity through this. And both you and I, the Dungeon Master and the Dragon Master, will be interrupted by fate itself. And our greatest desires will be dashed on the rocks of narrative, and they'll be thrown into the air to soar, right? There's never been a story path like this on the secular side. It's incredible. There's never been anything like Dungeons and Dragons, right? So some people are coming and they're saying, I want to honor Gary Gygax, right? And then others are coming and saying, I want to break Gary Gygax. I want to shatter Dungeons and Dragons. I'm at this table to end Dungeons and Dragons. And we've got to realize this. This is extremely real, right? And Helly R, right? Like she comes in and she's like, I don't even know what we're doing here. What is the purpose of this work? Macro data refinement? What even is that, right? And she's going at Irving, and she's going at Mark, and she's going at Dylan, right? Mocking Dylan for wanting the perks, mocking Irving for honoring Lumen, right? And actually highly in love with Mark. Okay. And actually that's it, right? Why is she at Lumen? Right? And this, we have to think about this. We really, really need to get into this, right? People can be at the Dungeons and Dragons table who are dedicated to destroying Dungeons and Dragons. There's a ton of people like this. It is extremely common. Why would you do that? Well, maybe you're in love with somebody at the table, right? Oh, Scott, don't be silly. Oh, Scott, what a silly, ridiculous. Look at Critical Role. Come on, man. How many people? Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, Matthew Mercer, right? And Marisha Ray. And those would worked. I could put some other names on that list that did not work. They did not work, right? Like, oh yeah, let's mix business and pleasure, right? I'm at the table because I literally love someone at the table. This is not small. This is huge. I'm convinced a ton of people are at the Dungeons and Dragons table because of the people who are there, right? And they do fall in love, and they fall into hatred, and they fall into all kinds of relationships, right? Like the idea that somebody would be at the Dungeons and Dragons table because they're in love with a player there is not even remotely disconnected from reality. In fact, it's a harsh reality at the highest levels of the game. Literally 5 people in Critical Role made personal romantic relationships within their business, which was literally a business, right? It was like, oh yeah, let's totally mix, romance and professionalism. And how'd that work out? Right? One of them was an absolute train wreck, right? Like it was like the pieces are still getting picked up now, right? It's astounding, right? Oh, okay. All right. But we've got to realize this. Right? There are many people who are coming to the Dungeons and Dragons table to destroy Dungeons and Dragons. There are a ton of Heliars out there, right? Professor Dungeon Master. I'll list them off. Professor Dungeon Master, right? Glicker from Roll for Combat, right? Bob World Builder. These guys despise Dungeons and Dragons. But every single month, they're going to a convention and they're sitting down at a Dungeons and Dragons table. They want to break the system. Right? They want Dungeons and Dragons shattered, destroyed, burnt. And some of them were saying those words not long ago, right? Literally, D&D be gone, right? The same words shouted by 1983 evangelical Christian zealots, right? The same words. Shocking, right? All right. Honor Dungeons and Dragons. Break Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Earn perks. This is huge. Some people are there for that traditional structure. They're like, oh, I want to level my character. Oh, I want to get a destrier. Oh, I want to get a magic item. Oh, I want that shiny plate armor, right? And in Severance, like there's kind of like this sideways glance at Dylan G, like, oh, I love the finger traps. I love the book totes. I love the t-shirts. Oh, I want a waffle party. You know what? Hey man, it's a real motivation for some people. And I need to be careful of this because I think I was dismissive of this in the past, right? And I need to be more just forgiving and understanding and saying, hey man, if finger traps are your thing, that's okay. That is okay, right? If you want the benefits of Dungeons and Dragons that come directly from within Dungeons and Dragons, within the structure, within the system, that's okay, right? So you have that, right? Then the last one is escapism, right? And this one's really challenging. I need to process this, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for exploring this with me, right? And I believe that Severance has turned out to be this incredible key to understanding player motivation, because both of these pieces of art are looking at human labor, right? And I think that's one of the things we're finding is that Dungeons and Dragons is not it's a human labor, right? But what do we do with people who are there for escapism? Is this acceptable, right? Is it acceptable that Mark S went to Lumen to escape the loss, to escape the grief that came from the loss of his wife, right? Is escapism to be accepted? Now, first of all, it's hard to get people to play Dungeons and Dragons. It's challenging to gather a table, right? So one, we need to take escapists. We need to pay people who are seeking reality escapists. We need to take them in, right? Because we need them. We need the numbers, right? We're fighting against video games. We're fighting against movies. We're fighting against television shows. More than anything, we're fighting against video games. That is the beast that is devouring all consumers at this point. And the reality is, we need to be careful, right? And so yes, we're going to take reality escapists into our group. I struggle with this one. I really struggle with this one. And is there a way to make a Mark S an Irving B, right? That's another question. Who's the best and who's the worst? I think it's pretty clear who's the best and who's the worst. Yeah. First, I don't know. The best of the employees is Irving. No two ways about it. Honoring Lumen and working hard for Lumen. That's important. Okay. The worst is Heliar, like trying to break the system while you're in the system. That's the worst, right? But I was tempted to say it. Escapists are third, right? And then perks are second, right? So that's another thing, is there's a hierarchy for the there's a hierarchy of players, and that hierarchy comes from the motivations. Once you understand the motivation, you understand who is the most valuable player at your table and who is the least valuable player at your table. And you can rank them, right? And say, you're the worst and you are the best, right? You don't say that to their face, right? Maybe you say you're the best to their face. Really fascinating. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.